I went to get a checkup, and a couple of days later, the doctor said, you need to come back into the office. And I thought, okay, perhaps I have an STD, some kind of other infection. Okay, and I mean, I would not be surprised if I did, because I'm very sexual active, I'm very sex positive, I like sex. He said, get your affairs in order because you have 2 years to live. Mm. And I thought, okay. And then he said, well, you have HIV. And then he said, be careful around your nieces. I had a niece that was 1 year old and a niece that was 2 years old. And I thought, what does he mean by that? Should I not touch them? Should I not be in the same room with them? But there were just so many questions. And I guess looking back, I can't really fault him for not being able to tell me what he didn't know. Mm-hmm. You know, so I had no one to talk to except Spirit, you know, came to me sometime after, I don't know how long, but at some point, Spirit said, you know what, look at this. It's actually 3 blessings. Number one, you don't have to, oh, my initial reaction also after being told I was HIV positive, said, oh my gosh, I won't be able to have sex again. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that went through my mind. And then, like I said, the Spirit eventually, you know, I woke up to the Spirit who would say, hey, listen, there are 3 blessings in this. First, I don't have to worry about getting any more. Number 2, it taught me the importance of prioritizing. This is important, that's not, and it's not negotiable. And number 3, the most important blessing is whether I have 2 days or 2 minutes, I'm going to live until I die. And so when I got to that space, went back to Europe, kept dancing and doing what I did. So it's like my universe stopped when I got that information, but I said, I've learned now when I'm in a situation that's uncomfortable, that I'm not unfamiliar with, I said, look for the blessing, look for the blessing. So that happened. I said, okay, all right. So that was my initial thing. So now that's why I like to be a resource for people who are just newly identified with HIV positive. How can I help you? You know what? Whatever fear you have, first of all, you're not dirty, which is what I thought in the beginning. I bought into all the stigma that was going on. But remember, I'm in Europe when this happens. I wasn't in New York to see all the Walking Dead and those things. I was hearing about this from far away. I didn't have anyone to talk to. So now I make myself available to people who are either newly HIV positive or just HIV positive who have issues. Okay, I hear what you're saying, I understand, but first of all, you're not dirty. It's not your fault. And you can, if you know your status and behave and act accordingly, you can live your life if you decide to. I said, look at me. I'm still here. I've not had any AIDS-related illnesses, and I've been undetectable since 2003. So even though this has lived with me for over half of my 69 years, for 17 of those years, I've been unable to transmit the infection. No, I'm also part of the HIV is Not a Crime National Coalition, and started in 2014. And one of the things that we deal with is the stigma. There's still the stigma around it, which is why I said the way that I can fight the stigma is by being openly HIV positive, living with AIDS, HIV positive, and gay, and being a walk and say, hey, here I am. I'm queer, I'm Black, and AIDS lives with me. So whatever you might think about it, look at me. And so, but the stigma is still just as, it's just kind of, I'm not gonna say it's concerning that the stigma is still as fresh as it was. Yeah, it is, especially within the Black community. It's still this thing. But then there's this whole medical issue about the Black community with the Tuskegee experiment and all these other things that have made it difficult for Blacks to trust the medical system. Absolutely. As I mentioned, every chance I get, every medication I've taken, every medication you've taken, somebody has gone through a clinical trial before it became to you. Somebody went through a clinical trial, because that's the only way we know what the possible side effects are. How do we know that it's possibly fatal? How do we know that you might get a rash? How do we know all the things that might happen to you? It's because somebody had to go through that trial. So I said, wow. And it's because of those medications that that I'm still here and that the quality of my life is as good as it is. So I owe it to them. And I said, I'm laying the foundation for those who come after me. All I can do is be visible and let them hear my voice. One of the things that I asked the Lord about 10 years ago, I asked the Lord, why am I still here, considering that so many people who were diagnosed HIV positive when I was diagnosed and after are no longer here? And she said, because you need to go out so that people can see you and hear your story. So that's all I can do. So, as again, all I can say is I am a living example of God's mercy and God's grace, and just saying that, hey, you know what? I decided that no matter how long I'm here, I'm going to live until I die, that nothing is going to take away my joy.